Goku is headed down the path of breaking all limits previous to Super Saiyan Blue and achieving a new level of power, the likes of which has never been seen before. With that having to be said, we bear witness to the return of Super Saiyan God, alongside furthering the limits of Super Saiyan Blue and pushing the form to its maximum potential. But the question is, what's next? On today's video, myself and Emish's Live are going to further discuss the next level of Goku's evolution, alongside sharing our thoughts and opinions as to what we believe this new power may be. And of course, if you guys are new to this channel, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel. Hashtag notification squad, as we both encourage you guys to watch through the entire video to further understand the concept of this video. And again, if you guys have anything to add, questions and or comments of your own, then go on ahead and simply drop your thoughts down the comment section below. Now, Emish, I wanted to ask you first and foremost your overall thoughts on the upcoming level of transformation that Goku is going to bear in the Tournament of Power, and ultimately seeing Goku finally reach his peak. So my question to you is, what do you believe this new level of power is going to be once Goku breaks beyond his limits?
Well, personally, I've been saying this for the past few months on your channel as well as mine. I've done a few videos talking about it as well. I think me and you have done, we've done a live stream as well on your channel, and just recently one on mine. I firmly believe this concept of Goku trying to become what it is, or what it means to be a true Super Saiyan God. And what I mean by that is basically, if you remember back in the beginning of what started Dragon Ball Super as a whole, the concept of introducing Beerus as a deity, as an unbeatable being. Yes. And to this day, he is still unbeatable at this point, current point in time, unless we physically see someone beat him, or unless we physically see someone saying he can be beaten by this person, it's a different ballgame.
Which we haven't seen anybody beat him yet, right? Exactly. So, and even if we mentioned that so-called God of Destruction who happens to be stronger than Beerus, that does not definitively mean that Beerus would lose in a fight. He lost in an arm wrestling match, so that's completely out of the question. So with that being said, if you remember back when Goku had the power of a Super Saiyan God, we now know that he made it his own, etc., and we're soon gonna see Super Saiyan God make its reappearance in the Dragon Ball Super series in the Tournament of Power, which nobody saw coming.
Exactly, nobody. I mean, I don't think anybody could have foresaw this, because there really wasn't a need to bring it back. But if you wanted to bring it back for nostalgic purpose, it's okay. I think it's going to be nice to see it again. Do I think it's going to be exactly what we saw in the movie? Hell no. I think they're going to severely nerf it, or they're going to make it so that Goku doesn't really utilize it the same way as to when he fought Beerus, because let's face it, Dispo is not Beerus, right?
And so far, he looks different in terms of like aura from like the Fuji TV scan that we have. Like the aura looks a little different too.
I heard it was unfinished. That's what I heard.
Well, that could be the case too, but then again, we don't really know how perfected that form is now that he's able to tap into it like nothing. I mean, we understand based in the manga. In the manga, he's tapping into it left and right, so now it's actually kind of fitting to see. But in terms of that, like, what do you think this is? Because there are so many theories going around as to what this new power may be. Some suggesting that it's going to be something far beyond Super Saiyan Blue. Actually, others suggesting that maybe it's not going to be something permanent. What do you think, in your opinion, this is?
Well, if it's a form, it's safe to say it might not be permanent at first glance, but the goal should be to make it permanent. It's it's a form. It's if they confirm it to be a level of power or a form of power, it can be perceived by the general public as the same exact thing. And they're not going to market it as it being a one-time thing, right? They're going to market it and then make that the new plateau that Goku has reached, right? The new goal. So going back to what I was saying earlier, Goku said that he was not satisfied with this power that could rival Beerus, and even though we know that Beerus was severely holding back,
in Battle of Gods, yes.
In that instance, we can say Beerus is holding back. It's okay to say a character is holding back. If you guys ever want to give a definitive statement to justify or to definitively say someone is holding back, look at the fight with Beerus and Goku. But anyway, so Goku said he wasn't satisfied with this power because it was not something that he could achieve on his own, despite making it his own later on. Right after he trained with Whis, they got Super Saiyan Blue and all this other junk. It still wasn't the same exact thing. It still to this day is not a power that definitively rivals Beerus to the T, right? Even though Sidra, Ro, the Universal 11 Kai, Vermouth and everything like that, they kind of said that, well, Universe 7, oh, this guy Goku, he has a power that rivals the gods, right? Yes, to an extent you can say it rivals the gods. Goku Black Super Saiyan Rose, which is also equivalent to Super Saiyan Blue, but for a deity, but for an actual god, still is a power that rivals the gods. Has it surpassed them? Is it on a comparative level in terms of tier to tier? Hell no. So with that being said, it's safe to say that this could be what started the series off as a whole, which is something that I've been saying for a lot, a lot of guys in the comment section have been saying it, just haven't really formulated into a theory. I've done a couple of theories talking about that, a couple of videos, I think like 4, 5, 6, 7 videos talking about that concept. I still believe it to this day. I still believe Goku, there's really no point in introducing gods unless you're trying to limit Goku or quote unquote limit break Goku, right? So I firmly believe that it's the same exact concept in the manga, though just not with Blue. It's actually going to be with Super Saiyan God, being an actual Super Saiyan God, if that makes sense.
I mean, but before I go into my second question, I do want to say that the image that we had with Goku having to have a chocolate-like substance being produced in Japan, I mean, we saw in the background there was this red figure, we saw Super Saiyan Blue, and right next to him we saw a red-haired Goku that resembled Super Saiyan, and in fact we didn't really get too much of an insight or a clear shot as to what it was, but it looked like Goku had Super Saiyan hair, but it was red. So in my opinion, I said this many months ago, if in fact this is a form in which I do definitively feel that this is going to be the birth of a new god, the new form that Goku is going to introduce in the world of Dragon Ball, I felt during that time that it was going to be red, just because of what we saw in the intro, with his aura having to surround him, having to be red, with the atmosphere having to be red in nature. And we spoke about this off camera and on camera, how you believed that this was going to be something to where it embodies the original Super Saiyan God form, except perhaps perfecting that. So I wanted to ask you as to why is it you feel that this new limit-breaking power has something to do with the original Super Saiyan God form?
Well, because it was Goku as a Super Saiyan God. He was in his base, just with the red fire, red hair, everything is there.
Right.
So if you were to apply Super Saiyan to that and master that, you would get it's unmastered, so you get Super Saiyan Blue. We come to find out that even in the manga, it wasn't mastered up until recently. And they said that, and Vegeta said that he mastered Super Saiyan Blue, but it still wasn't something that he could hold on to for a long time. That was very similar to what he utilized against Hit in the Universe 67 tournament when he applied Kaioken to Super Saiyan Blue, and he said even Blue will not, last much longer, even with the Kaioken applied to that, right?
Right.
So that's the same scenario there. If you're trying to surpass or put yourself on a plateau or tier position of power that where you can go toe-to-toe with the likes of Beerus, which in my opinion, I feel like that's why now they started this whole series, not just because it was a movie, but they started the actual series once again with the Battle of Gods. And if you remember months ago how we talked about together so many times where I said, yo, we need to see that rematch. We need that. You started it with this, you have to finish it with it. That would be the best way.
This could be what Beerus was dreaming about and foreshadowing, way back in Battle of Gods, because he had this vision that he just did not want to let go of, this person having to be introduced who rivals him, who gives him that fight that he really craved for. And after he fought Goku, he was like, well, maybe I was wrong, maybe you're not that guy. But what if Beerus was actually wrong in insinuating that Goku wasn't the guy, except that Goku the whole time was the guy, just not in that current power? Now, going back to what you just said, you felt as if Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue were not on the same tier as the gods of destruction, correct? So with that, my question is, do you believe that whatever this new form is and or power is that going to definitively place Goku on the same tier, if not higher? And even if that does place Goku at a much higher level, what's the point of having a rematch with Beerus down the line if that's possible? Because if you're going to introduce Goku, who breaks his limits in, ending the work of the gods and having to surpass even the powers of a god of destruction, depending on who you're talking about here, then what's the point of having Beerus fight Goku if, logically speaking, he, is far beyond that of what a god of destruction is? So in your opinion, where do you see Goku standing after all this is said and done in terms of power?
It depends. It goes back to what you just said. I would hope that it doesn't put him far beyond Beerus. And when we analyze or try to break down, and like I said, this is subtitles, so whether or not you speak Japanese or understand it, or like for myself, for example, I have to rely on subtitles, right, to understand what's going on and then make an educated guess based on my current knowledge of the series and just general concepts of where we could go from here. And I think that's what the fandom needs to understand is that when, for example, me and you do these discussions, because I know I see a lot of people asking, you know, why do we even bother doing this? Why are we talking about it? Why can't we just enjoy the show? And again, it's not to attack anybody. We are enjoying the show. Well, you know, I would imagine so that you're enjoying the show, right? And that's why we talk about it. So we have to make an educated guess based on what we know now, based on what's being portrayed, and then go from there. Like, do we work for them? No. I would imagine that even half the writers don't even know where the fighters stand in terms of placement of power and stuff like that. So with that stuff out of the way, I don't think it's going to put Goku far beyond Beerus. What I think is that even, for example, like we said, there is a mortal that even the Hakaishin cannot defeat, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that Beerus, I mean, it's interesting the way he kind of worded it, because now who is this mortal? Is it Jiren now? Or is it this new person that Goku's gonna have to overcome and then eventually saying, well, Beerus, how about it? I think I'm at that level of power now, if not more. You wanna go at it? Because we don't know what Beerus is capable of.
Yeah,
Is it safe to assume that the angels know what their gods of destruction are capable of at 100% max power, when Beerus himself has even said that he's never even utilized that much power to begin with? When he even lied about using 70% or 60% against Goku? And they never gave us a definitive statement in terms of a numerical value of any kind to decipher how much strength Beerus was utilizing. So when you think that, is it safe? Can the angels potentially gauge where they stand? Yeah, no problem. But guess what? Can they definitively, and have they definitively told us where these gods of destruction stand in terms of their max power potential? No, because based on the universe's makeup, if they were to do that, the universe would, be destroyed.
Right.
So who's to say they can even utilize that kind of power? You see what I'm saying? So it really depends on how they kind of draw it out from here on out. If they make Goku completely surpass Beerus, I think that's fucked. I think that's completely fucked up, because it doesn't justify Beerus as a character. Granted that he was the one that started all of this. Granted that he technically, in a way, is someone who Goku looked up to, because Goku, he's not worried about Vegeta no more. Wasn't too worried about Goku Black. Not worried about Go. I mean, you could say, I don't think he's worried about Gohan. He's not worried about 17. He's not worried about anybody on planet Earth. He's worried about these. He's worried about these multiversal god tier fighters. And I would say Goku's best goal or best placement in terms of being the strongest mortal in the multiverse is to potentially win this tournament, but also potentially either A, fight Beerus again, and maybe it could be a draw. Maybe it goes to what we talked about a long time ago when I think we said it off camera or on camera, where they collide and then it ends up like the screen goes black or white, and then we don't know who won. It goes to a cutscene where they're just hanging out eating food and they're talking about the fight, but they don't really tell us who won, just to keep us on our toes. Like, damn it, who won? Can you come on, Toriyama? Right. So I think that's a great way to really, silence everything, especially if you don't want to if Akira doesn't want to come out and say, yeah, Goku beat Beerus or Beerus beat Goku.
Assumingly so, if he's going to break his limits, because we can only assume that Kaioken times 10 Super Saiyan Blue Goku would be a very good opponent for Beerus, judging based on if you guys want to side with Goku winning or some other sort of action having to take place. But I feel like whatever this new form is, in which, again, in my opinion, I feel as if it's going to be the red-haired form that we saw on the chocolate box. I think it's going to look like Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Blue, except with red hair. Although for many people, people are gonna say, well, that's just lazy designing, and they're just redesigning the color into red.
Himself,
Granted, listen. I mean, if that's the way they want to go, that's the way they want to go. If it depends on how they market him as well, in terms of how he's going to present the form and whatnot. But I feel as if, honestly, whatever this is, it is going to be stronger than a god. And it's weird to even say if this thing might be permanent or not, because where does Goku go after this? Let's say, for example, if Goku is beyond the powers of a god of destruction, can he potentially also raise his power and even break beyond those limits later down the road, and surpassing maybe an angel if it's possible, or someone else? Because it's like, is this it? My question is this it? Is this going to be it? With all the Super Saiyan forms, Emish, we had false Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 1, we had different integrals and grades of Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4 if you want to count that, Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan God. We had various different outcomes for what a Super Saiyan is, and now we have this. do you think that this is it? Like, is this going to be the final nail in the coffin for Goku having to reach the center of power, or is it possible for Goku at some given point to even find a way to break beyond breaking his own limits? What do you think?
Honestly,
because that's tricky.
Well, it depends if you want to assume that Dragon Ball Super will make it this far. And granted that we would all love for that to happen. It goes
With
back
the
to
amount of money they're making, I
yeah.
really don't see them stopping anytime soon.
Well, potentially. I mean, unless they decide to end Goku's story and pass the torch.
Right.
You gotta,
so
you know
like,
what I'm saying? You gotta look at it that way.
Him the strongest,
so
that
based on that, yeah, I would say make him the strongest, make him that legend, that myth, that thing that is just etched into history. And okay, I think at this point in time, his story is done. There's nothing more we can do for Goku. Let's move on to the next character who, if you want to, bring that back in Dragon Ball Z, they really wanted to push for Gohan. And I'm not even fanboying here. That's confirmed. Like, they really wanted to push for him. But as they developed his character, again, in the manga, he was 9 against Cell, 16 in height against Majin Buu. And in the anime, he was 18. 11 versus Cell, 18 versus Majin Buu. So if you want to take that and then think about, well, he was still a high school student. Akira, as he said, as he was developing him, he realized that he wasn't really fit or meant for the role, let alone fit to cover the role for, to after Goku especially. Granted, as to what Goku was leaving behind. But then they gave Gohan that big break, and he was like the worst character on the fucking team. Like he was an embarrassment, right? Tracksuit
Right.
Gohan, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then he comes back. And now he says, my goal is to reach an ultimate form. If they kind of want to expand on that and follow through, you could argue that, okay, Goku's potential story may be coming to an end, and the next person to carry on that torch is Gohan, granted that he wants to reach an ultimate form using his own means, which is interesting. And that, in my opinion, opens the doors for new concepts. If people want to complain and say that, well, this whole red-haired god thing is lazy writing, no, Akira himself has said he prefers the simple look of Super Saiyan over the other forms. He said it himself. Super Saiyan 1 was his most beloved, his favorite form of all of them, even though Super Saiyan 2 is not that much different. But Super Saiyan 3, all this other stuff, that's why Super Saiyan God, and that's why the Gods of Destruction, for example, they don't rely on power-ups or transformations to showcase what they're capable of. They have this form, and they have this base form, this power out of the gate every single time. It's accessible to them all of the time, 24/7, 365. You sure what I'm saying? So the same idea can be applied to Goku, though in his base he's just on his own world. But if Akira loves Super Saiyan so much, who are we to say, well, it's lazy writing? You see what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think that's fair to him.
It's just the overall concept of, like,
of course,
the
in terms
evolution
of market
process.
value.
It's like
Of course.
Super Saiyan God looks so basic. Super Saiyan Blue was, I guess, a step in a better direction, but it really wasn't all that great in terms of, like, design. I don't know what people are looking for. Maybe they're looking for, like, more muscle mass, as Super Saiyan 4 had.
They're looking for Super Saiyan 4.
Or maybe concepts like Super Saiyan 5, to where he had a more muscular tone, wild hair. Like, I don't know what people are asking for, but I'm assuming here, in my educated guess, that this is going to be red. And I do think that, having to tie in with the entire story, this might be Goku's, be-all, end-all form. If by some chance down the line they have him say something along the lines of, well, I managed to perfect this current power, and I feel as if I can actually break beyond that too. It'll be like overkill. It's like, dude, are you telling me you're trying to reach, like, angelic power here? Like, what are you trying to strive for?
I'm sorry. That's too much.
His goals were to fight the strongest in the multiverse, and he got his wish. So, as you said, perhaps maybe wrap his story up here and having to fight the strongest. But in my opinion, I also feel as if this is only the beginning of Goku's next story in the chapter of Dragon Ball, because with him having to break his limits, you can only imagine as to what he's going to do next in terms of the people that he encounters that possibly may rival that form or whatnot. But I also wanted to talk about Super Saiyan Blue and Kaioken. So, do you think that this is going to also embed what Kaioken is as a technique in terms of, like, utilizing its formula within and putting that
all the
within,
time?
Yeah, like pretty much using that concept to always grow and to sustain itself within.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Previously, I did say that maybe Kaioken was acting like a trigger. You could and it still could be. I mean, you could argue that, even though, because we come to find out that Blue even takes up stamina now, so you have to ask yourself, well, Okay, so now it makes sense as to not only why Kaioken is easier to apply to Blue, but Blue still takes stamina. So in a sense, applying Kaioken and really pushing yourself is the same thing he did against Vegeta.
Yeah.
When he first fought Vegeta the first time, he really pushed himself to Kaioken ×4, even though he originally was told not to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And he
like
said, exactly. He said, my only choice is to take it for, Kaioken ×4, and he kept going, and he really and Vegeta still survived, by the way, which is amazing. So it's expected, but I don't think he's going to apply a technique each and every single time at this point in time. I think it really depends on how they try to interact the whole concept of the Angels and the Daishinkan being one of the top 5 strongest fighters in the multiverse. I don't even, honestly, bro, it's too sensitive for me. I don't want to, dwell into that territory because Goku being Angel level, even let's say if he surpasses a God of Destruction or becomes equivalent. I can never see that
happening.
That's too much. I'm sorry. This dude Whis, nah, man. He made Blue look like, nah, I'm sorry. I just don't see that being.
But then again, I
wouldn't be surprised.
It's Dragon Ball, as many people point out, so they're gonna say, well, they're always gonna find some reason for them to explain, hey, Goku figured out a way how to perhaps maybe compare himself to Whis or something like that. So to an extent, I don't think that should ever happen. And I never thought once that maybe I would ever come to see the day where Goku was going to break his limits to the point where he can actually compete with any sort of God of Destruction in terms of power.
Me too.
I just feel like in my opinion, this is it. This is the final form. It should remain as the final form. But also going into this, how durable do you think he's going to be? Is he going to embed the Super Saiyan God stamina factor and the regeneration ability with the Super Saiyan
that would be the
power?
idea. That would be the idea.
What do you think this power is going to be made up of, in your opinion?
No, he would have to actually be what it was as a Super Saiyan God, but like I don't even know how much exponentially stronger he would get. If we think back to then, we're gonna have to wait and see what the episode is first. I think that's important. But based on what we know about Super Saiyan God now, we know he was an actual god.
Right.
We know that he grew exponentially stronger, literally throughout the fight. Every time he got beat down, he came back up stronger. Okay. It's not that Super Saiyan God was limited in terms of power. It's that Goku was limited. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. Super Saiyan God out of the gate was only capable of what it was capable of originally because of what Goku was capable of at that point in time. But now that Goku is capable of so much more, and he's going to be capable of even more than what he's capable of now after he breaks his limits, then you can see that Super Saiyan God, in a sense, has no limit, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think when we look at it from that point of view, once again, the concept of true Super Saiyan God, I don't know what they're going to call it. I'm just saying true Super Saiyan God because of that's like in style, I guess, the whole concept of true Golden Frieza, right? So, and I just want to touch up on something real quick. If you look at Golden Frieza, not that much of a difference from his final form. It's just he's just colored. He's a little more bulkier, right? And he's just golden purple now. Instead of being white and purple, he was golden purple. And he had the Super Saiyan God aura, like the fire, like the same kind of design, right?
Right.
So it's not fair to criticize. I'm okay with whatever they give us. Honestly, I prefer base hair, like the black hair as a Super Saiyan. I think that looks amazing on him.
You prefer the black hair?
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
I like the red hair just because the black looks like he's going false Super Saiyan or something like that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, of course. It reminds me when he first became a Super Saiyan versus Frieza. Right. Remember, he was like looking down. He was like, yeah, exactly. The hair was glow. I think that they might recycle that. Honestly, because Dragon Ball, they have a habit of recycling concepts and just making it seem like it's fresh. So if they do that, man, that would be amazing, to be honest. And
so you're going with the black-haired Goku?
No, I just like the look of it. It's the way he looks. Like, okay, remember when he powered up in front of Ginyu?
Yeah.
And he used like the aura was red and he was powered up.
Same thing with Lord Slug with this full Super Saiyan stuff. Yes,
he looked great, but obviously the aura would be a little different, and maybe it'll be like red with like white, or I don't know. They would have to obviously design it a different way because we've seen that before, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it starts black and then potentially it goes red over time. Maybe he tries to get to that level, but like you said on the poster, it's something terrible happens or something happens that potentially prevents Goku from becoming this, and then it goes from there. Maybe Whis helps him tap into that. That would be the next best thing.
I doubt the Angels are going to get involved, because why would they get involved in like a business?
Well, not
like
then.
That,
I'm saying afterwards, maybe maybe some kind, like in terms of mastering. In terms of mastering. And another thing I want to touch up on, guys, me and Alex are not saying that this is going to be the end of Goku, and after that, his story is done. No, obviously, they're going to introduce this. They're going to milk it to make enough money. You know, in terms of market value, it's going to have an insane market value. So yes, what we're saying is general, the overall outlook, it just doesn't seem like there can be more to provide in terms of Goku, because there's really no story to Goku anymore. That stuff stopped. Like, I mean, I would say after Super Saiyan Blue was introduced, it was like, well, okay, what's his next objective? After that, he never really had a goal. And now all of us, I mean, because Dragon Ball Super started off with a goal. The goal was to surpass Beerus or be able to fight him on a comparative level at max power. And then it kind of feels like it fell off because we had ROF, and then Frieza was giving him work, and then we had Goku Black and Zamasu. You know, Beerus had no involvement in that arc, just, you know, aside from erasing present Zamasu. Then it's like, all of a sudden, going into the tournament, Goku no longer has his eyes set on Beerus, but rather wants to be fighters from the multiverse. Then we find out that the Daishinkan's one of the strongest fighters in the multiverse. It just feels like Beerus was just tossed to the side. And then once again, now it's kind of like we're getting that back again, and the whole concept of what it was back in the Battle of Gods arc, where he's trying to obtain this power on his own, yada, yada, yada. So I don't agree with the steps that they took, but it's safe to say a lot of the things that are happening now have already happened in the manga. Right. And if it's so when people say that the manga and anime are two completely different things, I used to believe that until basically like 4 months ago. And I stopped believing that. I feel like now the anime is actually who's behind. The manga is telling us a lot more sooner, and the anime is actually catching up to the manga. Not in terms of the arc, but in terms of the concept that's happening, the anime is severely behind at this point in time.
I definitely feel as if this form is going to hold the key for Goku definitely surpassing the gods. It kind of sucks to say that because I really wanted to see Super Saiyan Blue Goku fight Beerus before anything else, because we saw Super Saiyan God fight and he lost. So to me, I assume how cool would it be to have Super Saiyan Blue fight him instead, and that never happened. So with us getting this brand new form or power, you know, it's gonna suck to even say, hey, let's have Goku fight Beerus again, especially if Goku breaks past his limits and he surpasses the powers of a god. Then, I mean, I don't think there's any reason to pit up Beerus against him, especially if you're supposed to surpass what a god is. But post your comments down below, guys, on your overall thoughts as to what this form is. Does it tie back into Super Saiyan God with the regeneration abilities, with the healing factor, stamina factor? What are your overall thoughts on it actually embedding perhaps maybe the Kaioken technique within it, in trying to always consistently grow and never having any sort of timer as Super Saiyan God did? We would love to hear your thoughts, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, guys. Turn on notifications, that way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel. Check out and subscribe to Emish's Live's channel as well. I'm going to go on ahead and link his channel down below, guys, so you guys can go on ahead and also give him a quick sub. Thank you all for watching, guys, once again, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace.